Hello and welcome to the Mike Guarneri podcast. This is episode number 42. So I want to say up front, just in case for some reason you don't happen to listen through to the end, um, that you should go over to MikeGuarneri.com. The link is in the description and sign up for my email list. You don't want to miss any information or details about my new book that will be coming out, I'm hoping in April, and some of the other goodies and surprises I have along the way. So please make sure you sign up for that email list. So lately, one of the books I've been reading, because I like to read multiple books at the same time, is called Kabbalah Revealed: A Guide to a More Peaceful Life by Michael Laitman. And I was reading a little of it today, and there was some insights he had and some information that I didn't know that I thought were really interesting. So I kind of want to go through some of those things with you, and I'll notate all these things, all these ideas and statements, and everything are from Michael Laitman, unless I specifically say that it's my additional commentary, just so nothing's confused. So the Kabbalah, which I've been talking about on and off since the beginning of this podcast, has been around for 5,000 years, and it made its debut in Mesopotamia. Can't speak, don't mind me. So back then, people were much closer to nature. It was a spiritual connection, maybe even an energy connection. And people nurtured their relationship with nature accordingly. But the one thing is, they wanted to know how nature worked because saw destruction from nature and they saw bounty and harmony with nature. So they wondered, what's nature's plan for them? What is there a master plan? Is there a result nature's trying to achieve? They didn't know. So the people who ended up finding out or receiving the highest level of what the master plan is were known as Kabbalists. So that's your first Kabbalists. So this master plan is also known as the thought of creation. And the Kabbalists call this designer of the master plan the creator. And you could think of it as whatever top thing is. If you believe in a god, or if you believe in a source or believe in the universe, it doesn't matter. It's all equivalent. They called it the creator. And the creator, what that equals is nature's laws. So it's all the same. So basically, these Kabbalists thought of nature as the creator. It was all one to them. The original language of Kabbalah was actually Hebrew. Hebrew was actually developed by the Kabbalists to communicate about spiritual matters. In a previous episode, I had mentioned that the language of Kabbalah is the language of branches, and it is correct. I don't know when, but supposedly, I guess, some point in time, it changed over. Hebrew is a very popular language now, spoken in Israel, and for religious purposes and whatnot. So those first Kabbalists, they acquired knowledge that helped them understand how everything worked. These are the people that I mentioned who obtained the highest level of the master plan, understanding it, knowing it. Because these Kabbalists had this information, had this knowledge for this science, because Kabbalah is a science. It's not a religion or mysticism or anything else like that. It's a science. And this knowledge actually became the basis for science, and it was science. So these Kabbalists needed and felt they needed to pass on this knowledge to other people, to teach them and to show them. So everybody knew about the Kabbalah. People had attained different levels on the Kabbalah, on the Kabbalistic tree of life, but it was not a secret. It was open. But then, approximately 2,000 years ago, approximately 2,000 years ago, Kabbalah became hidden. It was hidden away, and it didn't come back again and rear its head until the late 20th century, not very long ago. And the reason why this happened is pretty interesting. So if you go back that 2,000 years from around now, there were philosophers. And I'm not trying to put down philosophers. I love philosophy. It's a great mental exercise and you can get a lot of great thoughts and ideas from it. But philosophers kind of screwed things up. So these philosophers took knowledge, took Kabbalistic knowledge to use, but they didn't study the Kabbalah or actually have any idea how to correctly use the knowledge they had. And thanks to these philosophers, Kabbalah spread all over the world. And the problem with that was all these far flung places that the Kabbalah spread to, there were no Kabbalists. There was nobody to at least attempt to ensure that the Kabbalistic knowledge and the science was used and developed correctly. It just kind of run amok. And it caused things to go in a completely different direction from the Kabbalah. And this new direction was ended up being generated or caused by Western philosophy. Said the philosophers were bad news. And then because of that, people started to develop sciences based upon the natural world, only using what could be observed and taken in by our five senses. So that was very limiting. As I learned in a different Kabbalah presentation, we cut ourselves off from another sense that's getting filtered out based upon the action humans have taken over the course of history. And this, I guess if you want to call it a sixth sense, was inherently part of the ancient and pre-ancient people. I said Kabbalah's 5,000 years old. They were attuned with nature. They had that extra sense, but we lost it over time. So, and that's what the Kabbalah tries to do. It tries to add that sixth sense in so you have a better understanding. So you can become less materialistic and more altruistic and go up levels of spirituality, go up that Kabbalistic tree of life back to the creator. So in our current time, in our current environment, many people are starting to feel that modern religions and modern sciences doesn't cut it for them. It doesn't answer the question like, what's the point of life? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? And when I say modern religions and modern sciences, yeah, since we're talking about going back 2,000 years or more, Christianity is modern. Judaism is modern. Islam is modern. They might be 2 years older, give or take, but they're modern. And I guess before, I mean, from my personal experience, this isn't Michael Laitman. I kind of look at it as people. maybe didn't think as much in the past. They just accepted what they were told, like the church saying, you have to do this, so you have to do that, or this bad thing is going to happen and whatnot. And the church would say, this is what happens after you die. You're going to go to this other better world, to heaven or whatever. People accepted that. They believed what they were told. Now people question that. Even the science, which also is not answering the questions for him, sometimes disproves things in religion. I'm not insulting anybody's religion by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just kind of trying to show how it was like a circular firing squad to some degree. So, given that, with the Kabbalah, most people still find it as something useless because it's in a way new because it just reared its head, in very recent times. I think even one of the books of the Kabbalah was only like the final book was like only released. It's called the Book of the Zohar. I think it was only released in the last few years, maybe within the last 10 years. I'm not positive of that, but I think that was the case. But even though most people have no use for the Kabbalah right now, there are some that are turning to it. More and more numbers of these unsatisfied, disenfranchised people are coming to the Kabbalah for answers. And that's just what the Kabbalah aims to do, is to give them answers. So I want to end the podcast with a quote from this book by Michael Laitman, once again called, uh, where is it? Kabbalah Revealed, A Guide to a More Peaceful Life by Michael Laitman. And this is a quote from it. By rediscovering ancient answers about the meaning of life, we are literally mending the rupture between humanity and nature that occurred when we turned away from Kabbalah and towards philosophy. I think that kind of sums it up. So, once again, just to reiterate, please head over to MikeGuarneri.com and sign up for my email list so you don't miss anything. If you've already have done that, thank you very much. So, until next time, stay well.